So officially, I've just started the record button on the Zoom meeting over here, and been going Facebook Live here just for a minute, just because it's fun to do. So, as we talked about before, kind of doing this Cerebrus network of things. We've got Coach Tyler, myself. We do a lot of the co-hosting. Like I said, normally Tyler's back over here or further up, but obviously due to the coronavirus, we're kind of doing our part of social distancing. We've kind of got Nick on here, Coach Nick. We've done the shout out for it. Go check out his Tuckered Out Life podcast, YouTube and Anchor and all the other places that you can find any good podcasts. So kind of cool. And this is one of those things about this virus that I think, no, the COVID virus itself is not cool. No, having to be in quarantine is not cool. No, having things shut down. None of that's cool. But you flip it, and the positive things are, how long has it taken for us to finally go ahead and set up the Zoom meeting where we're all on here doing this together? You know, finding a positive, finding a way to stay positive in whatever situations we are. I know that's one of Nick's big things is staying positive and positivity. And, so I think it's cool that we're finally all together, doing an episode. I think we're going to have a fun one with we've got, unfortunately, since we didn't have our regular bracket, we got our singlet bracket challenge, which we're going to talk about here coming up in just a minute. But I guess that's like kind of the quick introduction there. Huh?
I was going to say, it's a cooler bracket in a sense. Like, we're getting down to the real nitty-gritty.
It is a cool little bracket. So Now, I guess before we get into this, I was thinking about this earlier today. Normally you hear a lot about in wrestling, March is all that matters, or people they'll save a guy from March, or they say March is all that matters. Well, we really didn't have March this year. Moving forward, do you think this changes how coaches coach or the outcome of I guess I'm more specifically talking about NCAA's and the dual season that they have, that there's not still yet a dual national champ of the regular season matters. Nothing is guaranteed to have a postseason. Do we start to see some of the coaches in NCAA's take duels a little more seriously, or the three big time tournaments, which people do take seriously, the CKLB, Midlands, and Scuffle are all taken pretty seriously. But I don't know, do we see a different approach to wrestling and knowing that March is no longer, in my opinion, all that matters? It shows that everything matters. I'd still like to see something else happen with still trying to crown a dual tournament champion or a dual season champion, or, everybody agrees that a dual environment is great. You get these super duels that we've had with, Okie State, Iowa the last couple of years, Penn State, and anybody big, duels matter. And yet throughout the regular season, we still see teams that forfeit weights at the college level, where that's their jobs, is to recruit guys in a full roster, and yet we still don't see it happen all the times. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, take it, Tyler.
I kind of agree with you on that one. To me, now that we kind of see that things can just ultimately change in an instant, and you can have an entire postseason taken away from you, and it now puts more of a focus on what happens in the season. Not saying that it's not thought about what happens during the season, but it kind of puts things in perspective of we need to start taking what we have. We need to stop taking what we have for granted. So if we have just a regular season, we need to treat that as if it's the most important thing in the world at this moment. Every match counts now. It's no longer, well, I can see him in March, because we have seen this year. You're not going to see him in March this year because nothing happened in March. So it kind of puts a emphasis on making sure things happen now and not later. That's just kind of what I think.
And see, I'm going to go just the opposite, being the history guy. Looking at it, this right now is sort of an anomaly in history. You have these little blips where things like this happen, and everybody kind of jumps up, and then once it settles down, then you kind of get back to the status quo. Now, if all of a sudden things roll around, and we all know, we all live in the South, let this affect college football, let this affect the NFL.
Ooh.
Now you start to really change the gamut. But for right now, I just think it's a blip on the map. Everybody's kind of working to try to get things going. I mean, I'm like everybody else. I would love to have the college duels national championship. That would just be unbelievable. As fans, we all know that.
Okay, so yeah, you are on board with that part too. Like as a fan, just knowing that you. So,
oh yeah,
but
yeah.
realistically speaking, I get what you're saying though. Like, you know, when we get to next year, and again, we talk about wrestling a lot, obviously, all being who we are. But I kind of feel the same thing, and it scares me a little bit happening with the whole COVID-19 virus. That when this is said and done, the status quo of the way things were, just looking around at people and how some people didn't take this seriously, it worries me to the sense of like when this is said and done, like the good things that have come out of this that people have actually mentioned with the family time, the quality time, sitting down, eating meals together, not taking other people for granted, not taking things for granted, and the things that we are doing, getting to do this. Like I could see us continuing to do, you know, this and stuff like that, which would be great. But I think again, maybe I just think a lot of us that we are an anomaly of different types of people and different mindsets. But I fear for the general public of like people just going back to the status quo of, oh, there was an anomaly that happened, and then just going back to regular life without really realizing what could have potentially been lost or how important, what really is important per se. So I don't know. That's kind of like a little side note that I've had worrying about this. My last little side note that I get your guys' take on real quick before we get into wrestling talk with the bracket is I think that right now also, like, I've seen a few posts, you know, like, again, we follow different things, you know, the group of us, and I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it, you know, like people have said, like, look, if you don't come out with like honing your side hustle, being more educated or something else positive out of this, then the reality of it is it's not that you needed more time on your hands, because that's what everybody says. Oh, if I only had more time to do this, if I only had more time to do this. It's the reality of it is your problem isn't with needing more time. It's self-motivation in you. You know, you got to look internally, and it's you that's the problem. And my wife even said, she goes, you know, it's people that need to quit making an excuse and saying, I wish I had more time to do this, and just be honest with yourself and just say, hey, it's not what I want to do, or I'm not going to do that, you know? And I'm like, wow, I think that right now is something that I think a lot of people need to realize, like, hey, either quit looking for excuses. Right now you got all the time in the world to hone a craft or try something new or learn something new, educate yourself, do other things. Working on some t-shirt designs you guys saw me playing with. I think I'm going to change Bane's thing from social distance to essential worker. He looks like an essential worker to me. On there. And then they throw some social distancing on there. I'm working on the other Cerebrus t-shirt. And, you know, I'm thinking about trying some screen printing at home. You know, get a little kit and try it. I got the time. Why not? Try it. Let's see what happens, you know. And, of course, reading more, drawing more. I know you guys are all doing, you know, Tyler's doing more schooling for himself. I mean, has more time for studies. So I think us, like, it's not one of those things of like, hey, we recognize the time we have and we figure out ways to use it. But other people, I'm like, what can we do? Like, I don't know. Get them to listen to the podcast more and realize that, hey, you got to jump on it and utilize the time that you have and get better. Like I said, Nick's thing has been stay positive. Our thing with Cerebrus has been get better, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, interesting that you bring that up. I was actually just watching a video on called Big Rocks, and what it is basically talks about, you know, prioritizing the things in your life. So, for instance, if there's something that you know you're going to put off later in the day, like, for instance, if you know you're not going to work out if it's past, like, noon, then make sure you get it done in the morning time. Some people also call it eating the frog. Like, just go ahead and get it out of the way now, and then everything else will be fine after. And I mean, that's kind of the same thing. It's a lot of people, you know, talking about, I don't have the time. It's not that they don't have the time. It's just they're not prioritizing their time properly. Like, they don't want to wake up that extra, you know, that early 1.5, 2 hours earlier than they usually do. They don't want to go to bed earlier. They don't want to, you know, sacrifice going to a drive-through to get food and all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
I mean, your wife was spot on with that. I mean, do they want to? I'm sure they want to. I mean, there's a desire there, but is it is it a
Do they
priority
really
for them?
want to? It's more they
Yeah.
rather say they want to than more than they really do want to.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
because I'd like to, I'd like to be the president one day or go to space. I mean, am I going to do that? Probably not. I don't ever plan on doing that. Would it be cool? Yeah. So it's kind of that difference of, wanting to do something versus like actually wanting to do something, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I talk about in my classes that I teach is, you just got to sit down, look at your day and schedule it out. And I mean, we all know that as adults. And so that's, that's what we've done. We do here at our house every Sunday is we schedule out the week and plan out every hour. And that's when you see, good Lord, you got 4 or 5 hours that really just go wasted every day. And
yeah.
so, and I think this is helping people realize that there is time, but like you said, we just kind of go, oh, I've got this and this and this, but really you don't. We're just kind of making excuses.
Yeah. I mean, about the, like I said, wondering about what I see people doing and wondering how much more time that they now have that they're just, ironically enough, you see the question, and I'm not trying to fault anybody who asked the question of like, hey, what shows are there to watch? But like, if you look at responses on people's posts, just in general on things, like the number of people that all of a sudden have all these great shows to watch and things like that, versus if you post things of like, hey, what can I do to work out? The number of lists, like the 2 lists would be dramatically different,
There's no doubt on that.
It's like, hey, you get a page and a half worth of shows to watch, and then you'll have like your 3 or 4 people that are going to respond for the workout, but nobody else will have anything.
Exactly.
It's funny. You're mentioning like TV shows and all that. There's actually been 2 things that, and it's still a little difficult for me during this break just because I do have a ton of schoolwork still, and I'm still having to worry about that. But, at least I have more time to get it, start on certain things like, reading different books and all that. But those are 2 things that I wish I had, I had more available. It's like, what book should I read and who wants to come over to get suplexed for a little bit? Those are like my 2 priorities during this whole break.
Yeah, right.
Like those are the 2 things I want. Like just let me get some mats out and like who wants to come and let me practice some Greco throws on them for about an hour or 2, and then we're good.
First, you must bathe in Lysol before you can.
Yeah.
Oh man! All right, so let's get to the fun part of this for those of you who have listened to us rant for a little bit here. But we got our singlet challenge. Nick came up with a couple of good questions the other day. That's where I got this. I can't exactly remember. It might have been one of the Obsessed Wrestler pages, and I just Googled singlet challenge, literally wrestling singlet challenge, and the image popped up, so I printed it out. And it came off of the image that popped up came off somebody's Twitter feed. So I really don't know who to honestly give credit for the original thing for. Otherwise, I would say so-and-so developed this, and I would like to give them credit for, 1, developing and giving us something to do. 2, then it would also open a dialogue to be like, how did you seed this? Because I think that was Nick's question was like, how do you have Iowa and Okie State on the same side? Yeah.
Yeah, so, they did this kind of weird. I mean,
it looks like seem very almost regionally done in a way.
Well,
yeah, it's regional and it's also rivalry based.
Yeah.
Seems like.
So, yeah, you don't even really get a chance to – so I'm very curious as to how this is going to play out amongst us. And I guess without further ado, you guys got anything else to say about it before we just go and jump right into our first Iowa State?
My only other thing was the fact that, I just kind of like what Flo did. I guess it was last week with, best uniforms throughout history. Like I would have liked to have seen the best singlets throughout history, and we'll touch on that as we go through.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I was talking to Tyler about. So we also got to say which notable singlets were not on here, whether it be a different version of a particular school singlet, or a team that's just not on here. Period. So
you know what I'm not seeing on here?
Chattanooga.
I'm not seeing any. I was gonna say any SoCon teams. Like,
well, I agree, but but you did put Little Rock on there.
Yeah, they do have Little Rock.
But, come on now, we're mocked here.
Yeah, Little Rock gets on there, and they've never been here before, and they're just brand new. All right, so Iowa State.
Little Rock, good job, guys.
All right, I guess the question is: anybody have Iowa State beating Iowa on the singlet?
I'll be honest, I did. I like Iowa State singlet. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the classic Iowa singlet, but there's something about Iowa State singlet that I hated that they had to meet up in the first round. because
Yeah.
I do like them both. But if I'm going with which one appeals to my eyes more, it's going to be Iowa State.
All right.
I'm a traditionalist on that one. Sorry, just black and gold shows up. It's done.
So I got Iowa as well moving on, and that's 2 out of 3. So Iowa moves on the, like I said, the blank one. I've got mine that I had already pre-filled out over here as well. So Iowa moves on in the first round over there. Hey, believe it or not, Devin, I think, picked Iowa State with you, but he's not our
Devin knows what's up.
Yeah.
He's not of age, so he doesn't count.
Yeah. All right. Wisconsin and UNI.
I went with Wisconsin. I mean, I don't know. There's something about that blue purple thing that color never really gets me going. So.
Okay. Tyler, what would you get?
Yeah, no, I mean I agree. I like Wisconsin singlets. UNI's is the color combination of, like he said, just it's not, to me it doesn't appeal to the eye. But one thing I do like about Wisconsin is I do kind of like that horizontal stripe, the 2 horizontal stripes in the middle. I mean, there's something about that to me. It just looks clean. I mean, the red and white, traditional looking. So
yeah, see, I guess I went opposite with you guys on that. I went UNI. Our background, the purple and yellow actually is complementary color scheme, art teacher type thing. I like it.
Yeah.
And then, but you'll see me go against this later on. But I don't know, for some reason, I've never been a big fan of the band in the middle, whether it be the 2 stripes or one. So, so I'm not a big Wisconsin fan.
That's our era of wrestling. I think that's our era of wrestling when Penn State and that stuff wasn't really big compared to now, where Penn State has kind of brought the belt and stuff back. So
yeah. So, but Wisconsin who advances, even though I had UNI. All right. Lehigh and Purdue.
This one it was kind of tough for me. I went with Lehigh.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it was more of a coin flip. Like, I'm not hot on either of their singlets per se. It's not like they're not the best looking to me, but Lehigh, just because it's kind of unique.
Yeah. All right.
I'll say this one I went Purdue, and for this reason, I think we should have had Lehigh's traditional singlet.
Yes.
The old school. If that one's on there, it's a no-brainer, and I think that's really more the reason why I went Purdue, because I'm like, I think of Lehigh, that's not what I think of. So to me, it was a Purdue no-brainer.
All right, I went Lehigh on that one, just because I like the ugly brown singlet really, and then I just also remember, even though it wasn't that particular singlet, I remember a cat from Purdue. It was the train head singlet they had. That cat about broke my neck. So I was like, nope, not going Purdue. So I went with Lehigh on that one. All right, so we had 2 Lehighs then versus 1 Purdue. Hey, buddy, what's up? You know, say hi. Hey, you didn't see Nick in a while. You want to?
What's up, Henry?
No.
That's what I got last time too.
He's focused on that iPad.
Yeah,
that's right.
I tried to keep him busy just for a minute while we did this. Yes, sir.
Oh, can I have something though?
You want a little snack? Yeah. Can you go get it? Because I'm doing the recording over here. Huh? Or you can wait. Either one. All right. We got Princeton and Cornell for the next one over here. And this one for me was a bit of a toss-up. I don't think I've gone first, so I'll go ahead and go first. I was going to go Cornell, but I don't know. I like Princeton's singlet, even though, they're Ivy League and you don't see a lot of them except for like the last couple of years really. But I don't know. I like the singlet. I like, even though they don't show it, I did look it up to make sure this one still had it too. I like the Princeton P on the back with the tiger stripes on it. And this particular singlet, like I actually took time to look it up, does still have that P with the tiger stripes on the back. So I like that singlet, so I went with that one over Cornell's. Again, traditional, but it's just red with the block C. But it's theirs. It works for them.
No, I mean, I agree. The Cornell singlet, I like them both. But Cornell's singlet looks like they honestly got it, in a hurry, that they needed a singlet for the start of the season. And they were just like, just order the first one you can find. And
the AD said, we're going to get this red one with a C on it.
We'll just put a C on it. We'll be good to go. And I don't like that. But one thing I did like about Princeton's, and the reason I chose them, is them being an Ivy League school. If I'm not mistaken, on the front there, it's kind of got their crest.
It does, yeah.
In the front. And I feel like for an Ivy League school, that makes sense. It's kind of that more refined
I really like this
tradition.
singlet,
So that's kind of why I went with Princeton.
In fact, I'm oddball out here. I went with Cornell just because it's one of those that you see it, you know it immediately. You're at NCAA tournament, you see that, unless you, like Ed said, you see the back of the Princeton, you see that one in the front, you have no clue who it is. At least when I see a red singlet with nothing on the back and a C, I know it's Cornell. So just for recognition, that's why I went Cornell.
Although I did notice this year, maybe just because it was when watching things. So Princeton moves on though this time around. Like there's a lot of red singlets in the Big Ten. It seemed like this year. Like we had Wisconsin, Nebraska. Like I just was like, man, it seemed like every time I turned on Flow or something, there was just like, again, because obviously I was watching Big Ten, but like there's a lot of red singlets throughout that that conference. So I was like, it's just a side note. All right, we got Arizona State and who was that? UVU? Who is that?
All right, can we just say it's Arizona State, move on since we don't know who it is?
Arizona State.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, UVU.
I was going to ask that question. So nobody else knows who UVU is, or and how did they make it into the bracket?
I'm about to look up who UVU is.
All right, you look that up. We're going to move on. We're going to go Air Force and Army. Being an Army rat, I got to go
Utah
Army.
Valley. It's Utah Valley.
Utah Valley.
Yeah.
They could have put Utah Valley on there. It's still Arizona State, so whatever.
Yeah, Arizona State. Yeah, we're all there with them. All right, I went Army. I'm an Army brat, so I had to go Army. Although Air Force singlet's pretty sharp. The one that they have pictured here, so.
Yeah, I prefer the Air Force like silver, traditional silver one. But
I like the one I do too. The one with the lightning bolt on it is from their logo and other stuff.
Yeah,
so,
but I'm like you. I went Army.
So just real quick, I wanted to say this. Why did they do Air Force and not Navy? I felt like Navy would have been the more logical choice than Air Force. And I would have picked Navy, but no, between Air Force and Army.
Because they did this before Kerry Colott went over there.
Yeah, I mean, still, even I still think of Navy more than I do Air Force.
Can we say this, that like in the Navy, a lot of these we're seeing the front of the singlet, like you said with Princeton, the Navy, the back of the Navy singlet with the logo is just unbelievable. And maybe if they would have done front or back, then it would have been a no-brainer to put Navy on there instead of Air Force.
True. Yeah. Because as you're running through these and pulling them up, that's how you're getting.
So yeah, definitely Army. Army wins that one.
Yeah. All right. So Army moves on. Stanford, Fresno State. I just went with Stanford. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it was really a toss-up, really. I mean, because out of the two singlets they picked there, I mean, either a black or a red one, really. I guess I was still the red at the moment.
Yeah, I chose Stanford too.
Same here.
All right. Now, these two teams have history. I think Oklahoma's getting to be back on the rise. And it's the irony that the two singlets that they chose for them are the identical singlets virtually, minus the Sooner maroon versus the Okie State orange. They couldn't even have chosen a variation of their singlets, which they do have. Both teams do have variations of. Even having the big OU on the front of that one would have been a better variation than this one. So, but I went Okie State, went with classic orange.
I went Okie State as well. I didn't like this. There's another one I didn't like early on, but Okie State.
I didn't like the choices. Tyler?
I went Okie State. I mean, as a whole, I prefer Oklahoma's, some of Oklahoma's singlets. There's just something about their singlets I think that are more appealing to my eye. But yeah, Okie State. I mean, and they've also got great singlets too. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, Okie State wins that one. I mean, this was a pretty bad choice they gave us to work with.
Yeah, I don't like the choices. All right, Penn State and Penn. Well, I guess we'll go on the other side.
Penn State.
Penn State.
Yeah, same Penn State. And again, this is a weird one for me because I went against what I said about disliking that belt on Wisconsin. I've never been a big fan of the belt, but given the two choices there.
Yeah.
All right, Hofstra and Pitt.
I took Pitt. I just like it. It pops. So.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, same thing. Pitt.
Yeah. Okay, so we all had Pitt. All right. Now, not to spoil anything, I don't have Pitt winning this whole thing, but one of the things I did see, it had Pitt winning this entire challenge. Anybody here got Pitt winning this entire thing?
No, I have them going decently far, but I don't have them winning.
Okay, I was just curious. I was just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I had them as a toss. Them and Penn State was tough for me. But yeah, I mean, it's a good singlet. I like it.
All right, Virginia Tech and West Virginia. Again, I didn't like the Virginia Tech choice that they had on here, but I still went with it over the West Virginia one.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the West Virginia one to me, it's nice. I mean, it's not bad, but Virginia Tech, I mean, it's kind of hard to see which one they picked. It just looks like a black singlet with a silver VT.
Yeah,
But I mean, just
like I
knowing
said,
what I
they're
know.
another school that's got a variety of different singlets they could have.
Yeah, and knowing what I know from Virginia Tech, it's they don't have an ugly singlet.
No.
And I'm kind of surprised they didn't put Virginia in West Virginia spot.
Yeah, Virginia, that's true. The two swords on the one that
Yeah.
they have in front. So
That'd have been interesting. Yeah, I went Virginia Tech, and really just because we got some guys from the local club wrestling at Virginia Tech right now. So,
there you go.
but the singlet was good too.
All right, Little Rock and Wyoming. I like the Cowboys yellow singlet, so it's kind of iconic. I like it. That and Little Rock's brand new, and we could add Chattanooga there instead. So
Yeah, it's pretty simple. When you're there at NCAAs and a Wyoming guy walks out, you know. So
yeah, you recognize that one, and it's yeah.
Why?
All right, Michigan and Ohio State. I know Tyler's got Ohio State. No,
No, whoa, no.
whoa,
I got him.
Michigan.
I got him.
You got the thumbs up, and I was expecting you to say Michigan. No, no.
I got him. My
Oh,
Michigan fan went thumbs up for Ohio State.
Man, I
oh,
hope Sean
Or
didn't hear
man, you
that.
take a look. Look what happened.
I thought I had. But no, definitely Michigan. Hands down, Michigan.
All right.
and I'm gonna say this. If it was the back, it's Ohio State all day long.
Mhm.
But it's the front, so it's Michigan. Go Blue.
I agree. That was kind of my reason. I was like, the Ohio State singlet that they put down over here, I was like, going with the Michigan because of the classic. Now, if Ohio State had done, because they were the first ones to do it before everybody and their grandmas down to middle school, elementary team did it, when they did that the O on the side
Yeah.
for Ohio
Yeah.
State, that was probably one of their best singlets, just in my opinion, because just how well copied it was. I think it showed that was. If it was that one, I think they would have gone a lot further for me.
Either that or silver. If they would have gone with the silver one, the silver one pops. Then, but
because of that,
But
for
y'all
me,
said
yeah.
y'all like the black one, the black Ohio State singlet.
I'm not really.
Like when the
silver's my
current
biggest
thing
one.
that they have with this one band on one leg, and then it not even being at the bottom, it always bothers me. I'm like, is there something wrapped around his leg? And it doesn't matter. It happens whether they wear the black one, the silver one, the white one, or the red one. It always like, what's wrong with his
I was
leg?
gonna throw the
Oh,
option out
that's
there.
just a band on it, huh?
Yeah, I was gonna throw the option out there. Like if y'all went with the black one or the silver one for Ohio State against Michigan's maize ones, the yellow,
Yeah.
that
Well,
would have been an interesting matchup too.
yeah, I got
Yeah.
Michigan moving on there though. All right, Michigan State versus Binghamton.
I'll
jump
be
in.
honest, I'm not a big fan of gray singlets, so I chose Binghamton.
Yeah, and I went Binghamton too. Same reason. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. I think I did the same thing. Yeah. All right, Minnesota, Nebraska. I like Minnesota singlets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went Minnesota.
All right, I'm oddball then. If it was traditional Minnesota with the M on the leg, yeah. Right now though, I like the Nebraska, just the simplicity of it, and also kind of knowing those guys out there. So
Yeah. No, you're right. That M on the leg singlet's pretty dope. I love their singlet with Minnesota the city in the background
Mhm.
on the back of it, and that's what I'm trying to push for the high school to get to with our school, since it's a brand new school. Like do that in the back, but
I also like their gold singlet that they have.
yeah,
yeah, they have a good variety. All right, NC State and UNC. I don't like the NC State singlet that they have on this one. It's that to me, it's that stock singlet. From look online, order the easiest, quickest stock singlet, and go from there. So I went with UNC.
I'm not a baby blue fan, so I went NC State. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. So
Okay, and Tyler, so what'd you pick?
UNC, I mean, I do like that baby blue. I'm a big fan of the Carolina blue. I like the logo with the CN. I mean, it's – and also, like you said earlier, it's recognizable. I mean, especially with what is the pattern? Is it whatever they call it, the not corduroy.
Oh, yeah.
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 The
It's
diamonding, yeah.
Yeah,
That's one
it's
of the
kind
reasons
of
why I liked, and I'm gonna go ahead and say, like, I had them going pretty far, but I like theirs because I think they're everything from that baby blue to that pattern on the side to the logo on the front. Every last bit of that singlet epitomizes that school, that program, that thing. It's not just we went to black because it's cool. We went to white because it's cool. We went with this like flash stock design that goes through it because it's cool. No, they took all straight elements of their school, of their logo, of everything, and were able to me put it into a singlet and have it look good. But all right, do we want to just run it back up real quick that way, and then we should be able to go probably a little bit faster with these next rounds, or we want to start back up with Iowa and Wisconsin back up on that left-hand side?
doesn't matter to me.
All right,
Pick one.
All right, we'll go back up that way since we'll just go through. So Iowa versus Wisconsin is what we voted on. Out of that, I'm going to still say Iowa over the Wisconsin. What are you guys' votes?
I'm Iowa over Wisconsin on that one.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Iowa over Wisconsin.
Because now we're getting into not necessarily what we had, but what we're getting into since some of our votes have been outvoted. Which is kind of cool. All right, so Lehigh versus Princeton was our next one up. What do you guys got? I'm still digging Princeton over Lehigh on this one for me.
Yeah,
I
if I
agree.
got a chance to those two, because I didn't have those two winning, but I'd go Princeton. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, same Princeton.
All right. The Arizona State over the UVU in Army. Who do you guys got? Arizona State or Army for their singlets?
I mean, Arizona State, if you got to go with just these two, I'm going to lean Army just because it's between those two. I mean, but, if it's real life, Arizona State singlets are so much.
Yeah, the current Arizona State.
What I got here, I'm going Army. Yeah.
I like this Army singlet. I'm going to go with Army as well. Tyler?
I was actually going to go Arizona State, but
That's good, though. I mean, that way we know we have some not a cool – that's what makes the 3 vote work well here.
2 out of 3.
Yeah, 2 out of 3. All right, Stanford, Oklahoma State. I'm still going to go Okie State, just classic.
Yeah, Okie State.
Yeah.
All right, top side, Penn State and Pitt. I'm going to vote Pitt on this one. I just don't like the band, and I like the way that Pitt pops on this particular bracket.
Yes, 100% agree. The blue and yellow combination of Pitt singlet just it does pop, and then Penn State's just I don't know. There's something about Penn State singlet that it's uneasy on the eye to me. And I'm not sure what exactly it is. I don't know if it's just a big white stripe down the middle. I mean, in the stomach area. I don't know. So I'm gonna go Pitt.
Yeah, this was one of those, like I said earlier, it was really tough for me because they're both so recognizable. I ended up leaning Penn State, but barely. So.
Well, Pitt wins out here. How funny would it be? I mentioned that Pitt won it earlier just because now we're changing up the progression from our original bracket to what's going on. If Pitt wins this somehow, I don't know. All right, Virginia Tech versus Wyoming.
Yeah.
What do you guys got on these singlets here?
Wyoming.
I'll jump in. Wyoming, yeah, man. It's just simple.
Yeah, I'm going Wyoming too. All right, Michigan versus Binghamton. I'm going to go Michigan just because, I know this Binghamton singlet as well, and I've never been overly fond of the eyes that are on the back of this Binghamton singlet.
Yeah.
It was good enough to beat Michigan State's gray singlet, but beyond that first round, I got Michigan going.
No doubt.
All right, cool. All right, Minnesota over UNC. You guys heard my speech on UNC last time around, and this particular Minnesota singlet, I got to give the nod to the UNC one.
These were two teams that I had losing in the first round, but if I got to pick between those two, I'm gonna jump on the UNC because of what you guys said earlier. It definitely between those two.
All right.
UNC.
Yeah, same.
All right.
Yeah, the UNC singlet. It's just it's it is UNC. I mean, it's when you look at anything for the Tar Heels, that's exactly what you're going to see
Yeah.
every sport. So
All right, so let's run it back, see what our final four is. Let's just go backwards this time. UNC versus Michigan. I know Tyler's a big Michigan fan, so I'm gonna guess he's gonna say Michigan. I'm
No.
still gonna roll with UNC. Am I gonna get a thumbs up again?
no, I'm going to go UNC on that one too. I think
Oh, wow. So
I do think it's so iconically UNC. Like everything about it, just it's the university's identity, and I just feel like it's special for that reason.
all right.
Yeah.
Now, if it
I
was
jump on board with that one,
Michigan
UNC.
May singlet, would you have gone with that one?
Do what?
Michigan May singlet. If it had been that one, would you have rolled with that?
I would have just let y'all two choose, and then I wouldn't been able to choose then because I love that May singlet. That May singlet
know,
it's awesome.
Pretty much whenever Michigan's on that May singlet, sometimes like the May singlet, they're wearing it.
Yeah. My favorite one of theirs.
All right, Wyoming versus Pitt. What do you guys got?
I'm jumping Wyoming. I just like it. So I like it over Pitt.
All right. I'm going to agree with that. I like Wyoming over Pitt.
You like Wyoming? I was going to go Pitt. The reason I wasn't going to choose Wyoming is simply for the small detail of just the brown. Yeah.
I thought about going Pitt just to see if Pitt would win out, to win like that other bracket. Maybe they had three guys that did it that way too. But I'm like, no, Pitt's not winning this one. I'm going Wyoming.
Nah.
We could have had an ACC final there.
Okie State versus Army.
Okie State.
Yeah, Army loses this one.
Yep. All right, Okie State there. That's what we got going on there. All right, Iowa versus Princeton.
Ivy League goes down. Iowa.
Tyler, what you got?
I'm going to be different. I'm going to go Princeton. I like that. Like I said, I just like the crest. It's for Princeton. It fits that Ivy League look, the kind of the private institution look, and what you think an Ivy League school would wear. So yeah, I'm going to go with Princeton.
All right, I'm going to go tiebreaker, and believe it or not, like I have it on my bracket. Devin, who do I have advancing on that one, Iowa or Princeton?
Princeton.
Now, I wrote down Princeton, too, on it. So now, this is an odd one. Check out our getting ready to go into finals. We got our top four, and we don't have a Big Ten team on the top four.
One tournament they can't win.
Yeah.
Yeah, because wow.
Somebody picked because a couple of people picked Ivy League.
Yeah. Oh man! All right, so if we're going Ivy League, Princeton versus
A Michigan fan didn't go with his team, so that's okay.
Yeah, jeez.
As long as Sean Borman's not watching this, we're good.
I'm straight tagging him in this episode. Sean Borman, listen to your biggest fan right here. Sell you out. You and your international
You under the
non-All-American team. So, all right. Let's see. So, Princeton or Oklahoma State?
Princeton. From the singlets we're choosing, I'm choosing Princeton. If it was a different Okie State singlet, then I would probably have to give the nod to them. But just with the options we got, I'm going Princeton.
Okay. I'm looking at the two different oranges, and I'm jumping off the bandwagon that I was so heavily on momentarily ago. And just because I lived in Oklahoma, I'm going to go with the Oklahoma State orange on that one.
I should be a jerk. I should be a jerk to Purdy right now, just like he was with me with Iowa. But
Yeah.
I'm a traditional person, history guy. I got to go with Oklahoma State on that one.
So we got Okie
Awesome.
State and the
See, there's no tensions between any of us whatsoever.
no.
All right, Wyoming or UNC? Do we go with the classic? We recognize that yellow, and I love being able to recognize that team, even though they've made it as far as they have. They're not like my most favorite singlet in the world.
I mean, you wouldn't recognize UNC singlet?
No, I'm just saying, one of the reasons why we've had it going so far, and I recognize UNC. I mean, I like UNC to win this one right here.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, I could go either way. So I'll jump on with you guys, UNC.
All right, 2 out of 3, Oklahoma State or UNC for our final best singlet bracket winner.
Chattanooga. No, I'm kidding.
There you go. Go, Mock.
Yeah, we're writing them in. No, I'm gonna go UNC.
See.
I'm gonna go with Chapel Hill again, just because I like it. I like that Carolina blue. I love the logo, and I just think it screams North Carolina when you look at that. And so I'm gonna choose that one.
I'll take number 2. Let you be the tiebreaker, Ed. I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to go Oklahoma State traditional. And if we're talking about singlets, then we're talking wrestling. Oklahoma State wrestling. If we're basketball, it's UNC, but Oklahoma State.
All right. So originally I was going to go UNC, but with that argument right there, where he said if we're talking about basketball or wrestling, he swayed me. I'm going to go with wrestling over basketball and go with Okie State. And we still get a classic singlet as our winner.
Okay.
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 Hey, it could have been Pitt. All right. No offense, Pitt.
Yeah,
no
it could have
offense.
been Pitt. We could have ended with Pitt. But that being said, I did have UNC as my original choice for it all, based off the stuff. But he sold me on the wrestling versus basketball slogan or pitch right there. So
we'll have to make our own bracket. Like we'll have to each pick the best singlets for each team for our own bracket, and then put them in there. We can like compile a picture of it. You know,
I think next time around we'll shoot for next week, and if this time works for everybody next week, maybe we can just each find our one top singlet that gives us a week to like really narrow ourselves down throughout the week, and just be like, this was my favorite, and let's limit it to I guess NCAA's or NCAA D1, not like you know Grandview or some of the other, because I think some of the D2 schools have had some cool ones, but let's go NCAA. And it can be throughout history, Nick, since you're my history guy. Like, what's your favorite singlet?
Yeah. Well, and we also need to readjust that bracket. I mean, let's get rid of the in-state rivalries. Let's spread this out because I think it would have gone differently if we would spread some stuff
around. It should have been
around.
seeded, and then also like which schools weren't in, and then also like heck, some of the schools could have had a mini bracket between their singlets themselves, like Oklahoma State, you know, Ohio State. You know, I mean, there are a few that come to mind that have a ton of singlets that work out well.
So. I kind of got another idea we could do, and we don't have to make an entire bracket because this would just take far too long, but maybe like a small, 4 to 18 bracket of, just all-time wrestling teams we think of. I saw Flo's been doing this with like the 2018 Penn State.
Their dynasty wrestle dual teams or something like that. Yeah. Which we could had me on the Penn State one and Iowa and current Iowa one. I think he was surprised that I picked that Penn State team. I mean,
are you talking about 1992 Iowa versus the 2018 Penn State one? Or are you talking about?
He tagged me in the current Iowa versus the team that had Ed Ruth, David Taylor, McIntosh.
Oh, the one Quasi
solid.
Quasi tagged me in the one. It was the 92 Iowa team versus the 2008 or 2018 Penn State team, and just like looking at that, I was like, oh man, like just imagine if that could happen.
Oh, I don't know.
That makes fun stuff. All right, guys. Well, I think we'll cut it for today. I think this was fun just to talk wrestling, even though it was singlets. Also, it served for me I got a little wrestling fix in. I don't know how you guys feel. I got a little wrestling fix in, even though we haven't been able to go to practice and we haven't been able to do stuff. I know Tyler's been itching to throw some of these because he's been watching the technique videos that he's been getting. So without being able to practice on anybody, but this was fun. I enjoyed this, and I would encourage anybody still listening. Should be hopefully everybody, but people go out, and that's the other thing about this. Still find a way to enjoy the things that you were enjoying before you got quarantined, and it may have to come in a little bit different fashion. We're talking about singlets in a bracket here, but we kind of, I think we're able to have a fun time and have like a little mini bracket fix per se, to help us get us through our day, and to get through this. And again, my encouragement is for everybody listen, get better at something, and find a way to maybe have your own little bracket challenge and something else if you're not heavily.
Have you told Nick about that website?
Do what?
I'll say, have you told Nick about the website, the Fanatic Wrestling?
Yeah, I mentioned it to him. The Fanatic Wrestling one that had the coupon code where you could download the.
Oh, yeah. You told me about that. I guess we were still in school teaching. That's how things kind of fly through. So.
Now
Haven't had a
they're
chance
selling
to
a lot of really good sales right now. Like he was showing me the one with the Kyle Dake defense and stuff. It's like a $27 technique video. And it's
Okay.
all digital and stuff. So, but all right, cool. So glad everybody could get on and we were able to do this. My man here joined us for a little bit. I think he's waiting on a snack and go help him find something while I finish getting dinner ready. And we got to go finish reading one last little ebook for his e-learning, and then he will be done for the day. So,
All right. Well, I'll see y'all.
Like a plan.
all right.
See you guys.
Good deal, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye bye.